Hey everybody, welcome back again to another episode of Momentum Motorsports Meeting. My name is Wyatt Thompson. We are back with another episode of Momentum Motorsports Meeting, episode number 40. 40 episodes that I've been doing this, 40 episodes that I've made. Man, it has been crazy. I never thought we'd get up to that much. I've got some exciting news to announce. We've got some races to cover. The Arca race at Salem Speedway, the F1 Azerbaijan Grand Prix, and the playoff races at New Hampshire Motor Speedway for the Craftsman Truck Series and for the NASCAR Cup Series as well. And then, of course, we'll have our Motorsports segment at the end of the episode. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get to it. This is Momentum Motorsports Meeting. Alrighty, so before we get into our race reviews, I do want to thank everyone who's listened to any of my episodes so far. Episode number 40, I still can't believe that, we've made it to this point. So, but I do want to share some exciting news that I've been keeping with me, been kind of holding it, kind of keeping it as a secret. First off, do want to share a Circle B diecast, which is basically like a diecast producer. They're sponsoring Josh Balicki and Nice Motorsports at the Charlotte Roval in a couple of weeks. They had an opportunity to where if you put some money down, you would get your name on the back of a NASCAR race truck, on the back of Josh Balicki and Nice Motorsports truck. And I tried to put the name of the show, Momentum Motorsports Meeting, on there, but unfortunately it was too many characters, so I just stuck with my first and last name. I believe that there will also be a diecast version of it, so anyone will be able to order a 164 scale and a 124 scale of this car. So pretty cool news that I really wanted to share. Really cool that Circle B Diecast and Nice Motorsports is kind of doing this. As soon as it kind of came online, and as soon as it kind of came about, I jumped on the opportunity immediately just because I wanted to get my name on there. I do wish that I would have gotten the name of the show on there, but hey, I'll take what I can get at this point. And this isn't going to be a one-time thing either. The name of my show, Momentum Motorsports Meeting, is going to be on the back of the number 69 truck for Tyler Tomasi for MBM Motorsports at Talladega. So 2 back-to-back truck races, I'm going to be on the back of a truck for, the Charlotte Roval and for Talladega. So very exciting news that I wanted to share until the time was just right. I think the last time I had the name on the back of a NASCAR truck or a car was, I think, the truck race at Darlington in the spring, and that was with Thad Moffitt and the number 46 for Faction 46, and that truck and paint scheme, that became a diecast, and I have both versions of it, so hopefully that can be kind of the same here for Circle B diecast and for Tyler Tomasi's number 69 truck at Talladega. So pretty cool news that I really wanted to share. Glad I'm doing it again twice this year. So that's all the exciting news that I wanted to share. Now let's go ahead and let's actually talk about race cars. Let's talk about the races this past weekend. We'll start off with the F1 Azerbaijan Grand Prix. Where do we start with this? Let's start with Red Bull Racing. Max Verstappen got the win, dominated this race. His teammate Yuki Tsunoda got a 6th place finish. The affiliate team, the Racing Bulls, Liam Lawson got a 5th place finish. Isaac Hadger got a 10th place finish. Kind of makes me wonder, is Red Bull Racing back? I don't know. Like I said a couple of weeks ago, or maybe 1 week ago, I think Red Bull Racing has a lot of work to do if they want to contend with McLaren. But again, this is a good start. I think they're getting closer to contending with McLaren, but I still think they have a lot of work to do. I still believe that they are not back. I believe that I'm cautiously optimistic. That's kind of what I feel with Red Bull Racing right now. I don't believe they're back, but I remain optimistic. I believe that this is a good stepping stone if they wanted to contend with McLaren for next year. But congratulations to Max Verstappen and Red Bull Racing. Let's go over the notable finishers. Great podium finish for Carlos Sainz for Williams. That's a solid run for that team. Kimi Antonelli gets a 4th place finish. Lando Norris outside the top 5 finishes 7th. You'll notice his teammate Oscar Piastri, who's leading the points right now, he finished dead last in this race. Just a simple overdrove the corner at the very start of this race, caused him to DNF. And, with that, I kind of thought this race would be a great opportunity for Lando Norris to kind of gain a bunch of points on his teammate Oscar Piastri. And with Lando Norris's 7th place finish, it just felt like he didn't. It felt like he just didn't really do anything with it. He still gained points on Oscar Piastri. We'll take a look at the points in a bit, but I felt like it definitely could have been more for Lando Norris. Both Ferrari drivers finished just inside the top 10. That's a little bit concerning for the Constructors' Championship. We'll take a look at that in a moment as well. Gabriel Bortoleto, an 11th place finish for Kick Sauber. That's a really good run. Oliver Behrman for Haas getting a 12th place finish. That's a nice run for him. That's pretty much the notable finishers. Let's go ahead and take a look at the Drivers' Championship. Oscar Piastri only ahead of Lando Norris by 25 points. So one full race technically ahead of Lando Norris. If you're Oscar Piastri, that could have been a lot worse. Norris could have gained like an additional 15 plus points on you, if he had finished higher than 7th. So I think if you're any fans of Oscar Piastri, you are lucky that you're only 25 points ahead of Lando Norris. But there's still 7 races left. Anything can still happen. Now let's take a look at the Constructors' Championship. McLaren is just at the top of the board. They're like at the king of the throne. No one else can touch them. But second place on down, it is a tight battle. Mercedes now moves up to 2nd in the Constructors' Championship. That 2nd place run from George Russell and that 4th place finish from Kimi Antonelli really, really did something. Now they're ahead of Ferrari by just 4 points. And Ferrari kind of, if they want to get back to 2nd in the standings, in the constructors' standings, they're going to need to kind of get it back together. Those 8th and 9th place runs that they had, that won't cut it. That won't do it. That will not do it if you're trying to beat the team that's currently 2nd in the constructors' standings right now. But still, 7 races left. Anything can happen. It's still such a tight battle. Ferrari is only 4 points behind Mercedes. Like, anything can happen. Even Red Bull Racing can catch up with just a quick dominating race, just like the Azerbaijan Grand Prix this past weekend. Same thing could happen for like Circuit of the Americas. Like, Red Bull Racing is only 18 points behind Mercedes right now. So, like I said, anything can happen with 7 races left in the F1 season. Man, a tight battle, whether it's constructors or in the drivers' standings. I'm very, very, I'm really, really enjoying it. Will be interesting to see what happens during the next GP in a couple of weeks. So that's F1. We're going to go ahead and now move to the Arca race at Salem Speedway, the third to last race of the Arca Menards Series season. Let's go ahead and start with the winner. Brendan Queen gets the win. Was struggling a little bit, at the start of this race. Was about a 4th to 3rd place car, which is still very, very good, but not where, this team, not where I normally expect this team. But, Brendan Queen had some lucky breaks near the end. Got the win. I'm going to tell you, he's going to win the Arca Menards Series title unless something just major happens, like he gets a mechanical issue at the beginning of the race and just doesn't end up finishing. But congratulations to Brendan Queen. Let's go over these notable finishers. Great 2nd place finish for Andrew Patterson. LeVar Scott finished 4th, I think. He was so close to getting his first Arca Menards Series win. It's only a matter of time. He's been very, very impressive this year. I remember earlier at Elko Speedway on the short green flag runs, he had like the best car, and then he kind of faded during the long green flag runs as that race went on. But this past weekend, he and Max Reeves pretty much had the best car on these short and long runs. And then on the final restart, when Max Reeves crashed out late in this race, just on that final restart, he just got beat by Brendan Queen and just kind of struggled to take off on the short run. But yeah, that first win, it's a matter of time before he gets it. Good rebound from last week for Isabella Robusto, top 5 for her. Will Kimmel gets a top 10. That's a good run for him. Same thing for Tony Cosentino. I hope I'm saying that right. I apologize if not. For Fast Track Racing, he's been the best driver for that organization. Great top 10 run for him. Ryan Vargas for Michael Maples' team gets a top 10. How about that? Michael Maples himself getting a top 15. Max Reeves, I'll mention him again, probably had one of the best cars of this race when he crashed out late in this race and ends up finishing 18th. Those are your notable finishers. Again, great racing all around, especially for the lead between LeVar Scott and Max Reeves. That last restart where Brendan Queen just had an outstanding restart, that was just insane. For a second there, I thought he had jumped the restart since he wasn't the leader at the time, but race control said the restart was good. I didn't have many objections. And, by that point, Brendan Queen had basically got the win. I really do like Salem Speedway. It feels like this track is kind of like a combination of Bristol and Dover. With Bristol, of like how racy it can get in the middle of the corner, and then the banking being as steep as the banking at Dover, if not steeper. Felt like a combination of the both. Overall, a pretty good race at Salem Speedway, with just 2 races left in the Arca Menards Series season. Wow, that is insane. Can't wait to see how that finishes. Now we'll go ahead and move on to the NASCAR Truck Series race at New Hampshire, the elimination race of the round of 10, with 2 drivers being eliminated from title contention. Where do we start off first? Let's go ahead and just start with the winner. Let's just go ahead and get that out of the way. Corey Heim dominates, leads the most laps, gets his 9th win of the season. Did we expect anything different? Like, really, did we expect Corey Heim to not win like anywhere, to not win this race? I mean, this kid is on a generational run in the Truck Series this year. Every time he wins, I'm just in awe. It was just like, wow, this guy is like a future, it could legit be a future Cup champion, 5, 6, 7 years down the line. But congratulations to him. I just want to go ahead and take a look at the notable finishers. Chandler Smith finished second. He was one of those drivers that really needed a fantastic run, and at one point he looked like he was going to get it, just couldn't gain enough points on Raja Carruth to advance. When the final stage began, at that point, he basically had to win. I really had Chandler Smith and this 38 truck team going to the championship 4, because this team had gained a lot of points. They were just as fast as Lane Riggs, if not for some races faster. And, just 2 really bad races to start off the round of 10, put them in a huge hole. This team gained a lot of points, but it just wasn't enough. Still an incredible effort to try to advance to the next round. Gio Ruggiero, not a playoff driver, solid top 5 for him. Ty Majeski, he's a playoff driver, good top 5 result for him as well. I was worried about Grant Enfinger with his new crew chief entering this race this past weekend, but the 9 team held their own, did what they needed to do, stayed out of trouble, got a top 10, so good run for them. Raja Carruth got a top 10. I gotta admit, I was a little bit harsh on him last week, but he genuinely ran really well this past weekend. Ran top 5, top 7 almost all race. Got some stage points in stage 1 and in stage 2. That pretty much basically gave him the cushion. It was enough for him to advance to the next round. I have been harsh on Raja Carruth. I owe him an apology for being a little bit too harsh on him. I literally thought he was going to get eliminated, but no, he proved me wrong. Great performance for Raja Carruth. Daniel Hemrick, early in this race, he got some damage from some lapped cars getting spun out early in this race. was stuck back in traffic, but thankfully he had a very huge points gap, so he advances with that 12th place finish. Andres Perez leads 47 laps, gets a top 15. Shout out to him and Nice Motorsports. Much needed performance. Hopefully this is a sign. Hopefully this is a sign for things to come. Jake Garcia, the other playoff driver, entered this race below the cut line, finishes 16th. He, like Chandler Smith, needed to get a win to advance, and unlike Chandler Smith, Jake Garcia just didn't have it. He just did not have the pace, didn't get as many stage points as Raja Carruth, and ultimately ends up being eliminated. Disappointing, because I thought he would be very, very competitive this past weekend at New Hampshire, and he just kind of laid an egg. So very, very unfortunate for Jake Garcia, but still a very solid improvement from last year. Shout out to Blake Lothian for Rayum Brothers Racing, getting a top 20 finish. That's a good result for that small team. Patrick Emmerling was in the 7 truck for Spire Motorsports this past weekend. Seemed to have a solid top 15 run going his way, but unfortunately had a right rear tire go down. He ends up finishing 28th. Very, very unfortunate. Those are your notable finishers. Now, let's go ahead and take a look at the playoff standings. Chandler Smith and Jake Garcia are the drivers eliminated from title contention. So now the standings basically reset. The round of 8 for the Truck Series begins at the Charlotte Roval, then goes to Talladega Superspeedway, a superspeedway race. That'll be very, very interesting. And then it ends at Martinsville Speedway, a short track. So now with the points basically reset, you still get to keep your playoff. You still get points, from all the playoff points that you collected. Now let's go ahead and take a look at who is currently in and who is out. Corey Heim, 69 points above the cut line. Yeah, he's pretty much safe. The Roval is a great opportunity for him to advance to the championship for. Lane Riggs is plus 22 points above the cut line. I think he's good as well. I expect him to be a contender for the win at Martinsville if he doesn't win the Roval or Talladega. And then this is where things start to get really, really tight. Hemrick is plus 1. Majeski is the last guy in, tied with Tyler Ankrum. Grant Enfinger is 3 points out. Raja Carruth is 5 points out. And Caden Honeycutt is 7 points out. First off, I just want to say, Raja Carruth and Honeycutt, they've had great seasons right this year, but I don't think they are going to advance. I just don't see the speed. The speed from them just hasn't been very, very impressive to me. I don't think their speed has been as impressive as, some of these other drivers that are also in the playoffs. So I don't think these two drivers will advance. Their only shot to maybe advance to the championship for is just win Talladega. And that could definitely very, very well happen. Anyone can win at a super speedway. So I would expect those two drivers to be up near the front, at Talladega near the end. So it all kind of depend on what happens at the Charlotte Roval in a couple of weeks. Let's see. Grant Enfinger's 3 points out. He's good at Martinsville. I think he could also win at Talladega. I think the Charlotte Roval for him is going to be like 50-50 depending on how well he'll do. I think Grant Enfinger will be okay. He could definitely, very well outpoint some drivers. Tyler Ankrum, Ty Majeski, they're tied for the last spot. I feel like it could go either way on who advances, on who does better. I do like Daniel Hemrick at really all of these tracks in this round. He's a veteran driver. I really like his statistics at some of these tracks. I think he'll be okay, despite him being 1 point above the cut line, but I think it all depends on what happens at the Charlotte Roval in a couple of weeks. But that's the updated playoff standings for the Craftsman Truck Series, the round of 8. 8 drivers still have a shot at the title. I can't wait to see what happens at the round of 8 opener at the Charlotte Roval in a couple of weeks. So now we'll go ahead and move on to the NASCAR Cup Series race at New Hampshire. The round of 12 opener, so much to get to. Where do we even start? I guess we'll start with Ryan Blaney. Ryan Blaney gets the win. He had the best car. He was the car to beat, especially on the long run. This team, man, if they aren't favorites to make the championship 4, They definitely are now, because this 12 team is just so good on the long runs. Pretty much everywhere we go to, it's kind of insane. Whether it's a short track, a flat track like New Hampshire or Worldwide Technology Raceway, a mile and a half like Kansas or Las Vegas, they could win at. They're great at Talladega. They're good. They're pretty decent at road courses. Like, they could win. They could legit win pretty much everywhere. And they're definitely favorites to make the championship for right now. A huge win for Team Penske this past weekend and for Ryan Blaney. Team Penske on these flat tracks, they haven't won any of the flat tracks like Richmond, New Hampshire, Worldwide Technology Raceway, Iowa, except for this weekend at New Hampshire. Congratulations to them and to Ryan Blaney. Let's take a look at the notable finishers. Shout out to Josh Berry for finishing in second. Got spun out early in this race by SVG. Those two drivers were battling hard inside the top 10. Honestly, a racing incident from my perspective. Then in the second half, Josh Berry kind of just turned on the wheels, methodically drove his way back up to the front, and almost beat Ryan Blaney. At some points, Josh Berry was a little bit faster than Ryan Blaney. For a second there, I thought Josh Berry was going to win this race, but he just slipped up in turns 3 with about 10 laps to go. And that's what ultimately gave Ryan Blaney the win. But again, Josh Berry and the Wood brothers, this 21 team, they have potential. They have shown that, hey, we can run well. We could have made the round of 12. And I just feel like it's such a pain, because we'll never really know what they had for the round of 16, where they finished dead last, like in stage 1 for all 3 round of 16 races. Like, that's just such rotten bad luck. But once again, a great run for Josh Berry and the Wood brothers. Joey Logano, solid top 5, got the most stage points, led the most laps, actually, finishes 4th. In my opinion, I think he needed to win. I think he needed to win this race, considering how much he struggles at Kansas next week. But that's just my take. We'll take a look at where he's at in the standings in a little bit. Chase Elliott, solid top 5, was pretty quiet, made some strategy to get up near the front, finishes 5th. Good run for him. Kyle Larson gets a top 5. At some points of this race, he looked pretty good, but again, Team Penske just had the better speed. I expected Christopher Bell to be more of a contender, and he really wasn't. He really wasn't. I consider Christopher Bell to be the king at New Hampshire Motor Speedway, because he has been so good here. Like, almost every single year, I expect him to be a threat. I expect him to win. In the Xfinity Series, I think in 2024, he won this race. I think the past few years, I think in 2021 and in 2022, he won the races at New Hampshire. I just expected him to run really well to contend for the win, and he really didn't. The same thing can be said for pretty much all of Toyota. Toyota was very quiet this past weekend, and they definitely weren't really big contenders for the win. But anyway, continuing on with the notable finishers, a couple of Spire Motorsport drivers. Michael McDowell gets a top 10. Carson Hocevar finishes 11th. Chase Briscoe was quiet for most of this race, ends up with a 10th place finish. Okay, that's decent. Denny Hamlin, he is the big storyline this past weekend. Lots of storylines around him and Ty Gibbs. For context, in Stage 2, Ty Gibbs, not in the playoffs, was trying to hold off Denny Hamlin and Christopher Bell, who were in the playoffs, for the 11th place position. Denny Hamlin on the radio was like, hey, can you kind of give us a break? Can you let us go here? We're fighting for a championship. He isn't. And Ty Gibbs just didn't really move out of the way, was racing hard for position with Denny Hamlin, and Denny Hamlin, he had enough. He pretty much had enough. He spun out Ty Gibbs, essentially ended Ty Gibbs's day, almost took out their teammate Christopher Bell in the process. Denny Hamlin, immediately after the spin, was hot on the radio, and after the incident, both drivers didn't really say anything regarding the crash after the race. Lots of different takes here. Here's my take. I think there was a lack of awareness on Ty Gibbs' part for not cutting his teammates a break, for not giving them a little bit of extra room. Because again, Ty Gibbs, he's not in the playoffs. Christopher Bell and Denny Hamlin and Chase Briscoe are. I would think that Ty Gibbs should be giving them some extra room. They should kind of give Denny Hamlin that 11th spot because, hey, any point can make the difference. But I also believe that Denny Hamlin did some wrong too. Denny Hamlin did not need to escalate the situation. Denny Hamlin escalated the situation a lot, and he didn't need to spin out Ty Gibbs. I'll just say it: the entire incident was Denny Hamlin's fault. And there's a lot of takes on who should try to resolve this. Should it be the drivers or should it be the owner? In my opinion, you need Joe Gibbs to get involved. Joe Gibbs needs to sit down with Ty Gibbs, Denny Hamlin, Christopher Bell, and Chase Briscoe and have a talk with them right now this week before the race at Kansas starts, before the practice session even starts for Kansas. And this cannot continue. And the reason I say get all 4 drivers involved, have a talk with all 4 of them together, is this can't happen for when we go to Kansas or at the Charlotte Roval. Ty Gibbs could literally wreck Denny Hamlin at Kansas or the Roval for what Denny Hamlin did to him at New Hampshire. And Joe Gibbs Racing definitely doesn't want that, because that's literally what could happen if the drivers are trying to settle this situation. So that's why I think Joe Gibbs Racing, and Joe Gibbs especially, needs to get involved and try to resolve the situation and have a talk with the drivers. This is a really big storyline. It definitely didn't need to get escalated. Ty Gibbs could have, given Denny Hamlin and Christopher Bell the spot. He could have given him extra room, but Denny Hamlin definitely didn't need to escalate the situation when he did. Denny Hamlin did not need to take out Ty Gibbs. He did not need to take out his teammate. And, unfortunately for Ty Gibbs, Denny Hamlin did, and now Joe Gibbs Racing has a wrecked race car because of it. But huge storylines around them. Will definitely be interesting to see what happens this upcoming weekend at Kansas. But continuing with the notable finishers, Austin Cindric finishes 17th. This two team just missed it completely. I was very surprised with how much he struggled, considering his teammates were the main ones to beat. No excuse for that 2 team, honestly. No excuse at all. It just surprises me how this team can be so separate from the 22 and the 12. Both 2311 Racing playoff drivers practically laid an egg this past weekend. What in the world happened to them? Tyler Reddick finishes 21st. He complained early in this race that he was dealing with brake issues, but Bubba Wallace 27th. What happened there? I don't know what happened there. Very shocking result from 2311 Racing all around. Some other notable drivers: Kyle Busch finishes 30th. Man, at one point he was 36th. He was dead last. Team ran bad, qualified bad, finished bad. Just really unfortunate for Kyle Busch. SVG had a pretty decent run going for him early in this race, but then finished 32nd. Dang it. And then the last driver is John Hunter Nemechek for Legacy Motor Club. Just got loot after he's had some runs. He's had some nice runs the past few weeks. Kind of got loose, crashed out, and finishes 34th. Those are your notable finishers. Let's take a look at the playoff standings. With 2 races left in the round of 12, with those 2 races being Kansas and the Charlotte Roval, which is a road course, Ryan Blaney, with that win, he's already advanced. William Byron and Kyle Larson are over 40 points above the cut line. I think they're pretty much safe. I think they're good. Christopher Bell is only 29 points above the cut line. He's really good at Kansas and the Roval. I think he's okay. Denny Hamlin is plus 27 points. Denny Hamlin is also really good at Kansas. I am a bit worried for him at the Charlotte Roval. I think Denny Hamlin needs to win Kansas for him to really be safe and to really be kind of taking a sigh of relief, because the 11 team at road courses, they have not been good They have not been good. Statistically, his main weakness has been on the road courses, and the Charlotte Roval is a road course. So I am a little bit worried for Denny Hamlin. Again, if he has a really good run and if he leaves Kansas like 50 points above the cut line, then I think he'll be okay. But if not that, I would be a tad bit worried. Joey Logano is plus 24 points above the cut line. Came into this race -2, so really, really solid points day for the 22 team. I'm a bit worried for him at Kansas. I like his odds at the Charlotte Roval. He's been fairly good at that track, but Kansas is a huge question mark. I would not be surprised if we got some late yellows in Stage 1 or Stage 2 that the 22 team would stay out to try to get stage points, because I guarantee you Joey Logano is going to be struggling. He is not going to be running very, very well. Again, you could change my mind completely, but I don't like his odds. I do not like where he's at. That's why I say I think he needed a win this past weekend. Chase Elliott only 14 points above the cut line. I'm sorry, I just don't have much confidence in this 9 team right now at Kansas, or mainly the Charlotte Roval. I mean, the Roval is a road course, and Elliott is great at road courses, but it's been super subpar for him at that track. And at Kansas, I feel like at Kansas he's been okay, but I just don't like where he ran. Like at New Hampshire this past weekend, he ran 20th. I mean, he started 27th and kind of gained and made progress, but I just feel like that's not going to go well at, Kansas or the Charlotte Roval. Chase Briscoe, with that quiet New Hampshire Motor Speedway finish, is only 12 points above the cut line, the last guy in. He needs a really good run at Kansas. Ross Chastain is the first guy out, 12 points out. Kansas is a good track for him. His only win was the Coca-Cola 600, and that's a 1.5 mile track. Kansas is a 1.5 mile track, so there's a chance that Chastain could be really, really good at Kansas. Austin Cindric is 19 points out. It feels like this past weekend felt like a missed opportunity for Austin Cindric. I do feel optimistic. I am still confident that he could legit make the round of 8. Kansas is one of his better 1.5 mile tracks statistically, and he was great last year at the Roval and really good at road courses in general. So I think Austin Cindric could make up 19 points, but I do not think it will be easy. Then the last 2 drivers below the cut line are both 2311 racing drivers. Tyler Reddick is -23, and Bubba Wallace is -27. I feel like it might be must win for them already. If it's not must win, it is must do very, very well. Get top 3 in both stages and the race for both of those drivers. Kansas is a great track for 2311. The past year or so haven't been great. They haven't been very, very impressive than, their performance in 2022 or in 2023, but I still think they're going to be very, very competitive. I feel like either driver, whether it's Reddick or Bubba Wallace, I feel like they need to win if they want to advance, and that one track has to be Kansas. Kansas is a great track for 2311 racing, and I feel like for, the Roval, I feel like it might be hit or miss for Bubba Wallace and for Tyler Reddick, but we'll see with 2 races left in the round of 12. I really, really enjoyed this Cup race at New Hampshire. I thought this race was going to be a lot like Worldwide Technology Raceway, and it really wasn't. I'm glad it wasn't. It felt like the best cars were able to pass other cars, which was nice. There were good battles for position, a decent amount of strategies, and overall, it was one of the better New Hampshire races that I've watched since watching NASCAR in 2018. So overall, a really, really good New Hampshire Motor Speedway race. I really, really enjoyed it. So that is our race review segment. Kind of a long one that we went into. We'll kind of finish it off with our motorsports segment. First off, some big IndyCar silly season to get to. We'll start off with Team Penske. Team Penske announces that David Malukas will drive the number 12 in 2026. This is going to be a multi-year deal. Verizon will be the sponsor. Just based off reactions, we all kind of saw this coming. This has kind of been a rumor. First off, we kind of all saw this coming. This has been a rumor really since the 2025 IndyCar season started, but now it's truly official. The start of a new era of the number 12 car for Team Penske and IndyCar. It's been Will Power for over a decade, and now starting a new chapter in 2026, it's going to be David Malukas. For David Malukas, it's been really cool to see David Malukas' journey the past couple of years. In 2022 was with AJ Foyt Racing, then kind of took a shot and went to McLaren, I believe, in 2024, then had an injury during the 2024 offseason, then his contract got terminated by McLaren, then he went back to AJ Foyt Racing, and he's now with Team Penske. It's going to be very, very interesting to see how David Malukas will do. I think there are some very, very big shoes to fill. I think David Malukas has high expectations for 2026. There are a lot of questions on how he will do next year. And if I'm going to guess, I think if he finishes in the top 10 in points, then he'll meet my expectations. So my expectations are top 10 in points and probably contend for the win on a lot of the oval races, because that's been Team Penske's bread and butter in the IndyCar season. It's been on those ovals. So, yeah, that's what I think my expectations are for David Malukas, but definitely we'll have to wait and see. A really big domino of the IndyCar silly season just got knocked down, but now with that Team Penske announcement, what happens to Rinus VeeKay? Because he announced that he would be leaving Dale Coyne Racing this year to venture other options, and I kind of thought that, maybe Rinus VeeKay to Team Penske was probably what Rinus VeeKay wanted to do, and I kind of felt like, people that said, hey, Rinus VeeKay to Team Penske wasn't far off. I did not think that was the most unrealistic take that I've seen. Now with David Malukas officially going to Team Penske, where does Rinus VeeKay go? Not Dale Coyne Racing, obviously. AJ Foyt Racing has a seat open right now since Malukas left for Team Penske, so VeeKay could go there. Andretti Global is all filled up along with McLaren. Meyershank Racing has been kind of quiet so far to start this off-season, so, Rinus VeeKay could go there, but I don't really know. I feel like the most realistic option for Rinus VeeKay is to go to AJ Foyt Racing, and maybe a few years down the line, he could go and, drive for Team Penske, since AJ Foyt Racing has that technical alliance with Team Penske. But we'll have to wait and see. That was Team Penske's announcement last week. Next up is Dale Coyne Racing. They are starting to figure out their driver lineup for 2026. Indy NXT champion Dennis Hogger, I hope I'm saying that right, I apologize if I'm not, will race for the team in 2026. Dale Coyne Racing also announced that they will have a technical alliance with Andretti Global. That's all they have announced. They haven't announced their second driver yet for next year, but analyzing the announcements that they've made this week, first off, Dennis Hogger dominated the Indy NXT season this year. Dale Coyne Racing kind of needs basically whoever's available, for 2026, and taking a chance on a young driver, an Indy NXT champion. It'll be exciting to see what Dennis Hogger does with that equipment, making his IndyCar season debut, starting next year as a rookie. Can't wait to see how well he performs. And then the second, reaction is Dale Coyne Racing with a technical alliance with Andretti Global. I feel like that's a pretty good move. They don't have Rinus VeeKay for next year, and even this year with Rinus VeeKay and Jacob Abel being their lineup for the 2025 season, they struggled a lot. It felt like to me they were probably the worst team on the grid. But with this technical alliance with Andretti Global, I like this move. I feel like this is a move, kind of trying something different. Hopefully it works out. But yeah, that's very, very interesting from Dale Coyne Racing. A technical alliance, and then getting an Indy NXT champion, Dennis Hogger, as one of their drivers for next year. It will be definitely interesting to see how Dale Coyne Racing performs next year. So that's the IndyCar silly season. Now we're going to go ahead and move on to some Arca Menards Series season regarding their East Division. City Garage Motorsports has announced their driver lineup for 2026 in the Arca Menards East Series. Becca Monopoly, I hope I'm saying that right, will drive the number 85, and Quinn Davis will drive the number 5. Both drivers will be full-time. overall, this is a solid lineup. Becca Monopoly, I apologize if I'm not saying her name correctly. I really, really do apologize. I try my best. She's an older driver. I feel like she's got, a lot of that experience, and I think she can help guide Quinn Davis. Quinn Davis is currently 16 years old right now, and in December, she will be 17. Quinn Davis is a female driver that I have my eye on. She has shown some promise this year. She has shown some promise this year with the equipment that she's in right now. Her worst finish is 19th. I don't think that's that bad. That's not that bad. And her best finish was at the Nashville Fairgrounds Speedway, where she finished 9th. She's also finished 12th at Madison Speedway and 11th at Elko Speedway. And, looking at that, that's really not that bad. Not bad statistics considering the equipment that she's in right now. And I think next year will be, a great year for Quinn Davis. And she's someone that I have my eye on for 2026. So overall, City Garage Motorsports has a pretty good lineup for next year. Wishing those two drivers the best of luck. Now for some NASCAR Cup Series news, some big crew chief silly season news. Randall Burnett, the current crew chief for Kyle Busch and for Richard Childress Racing. Randall Burnett will leave RCR and will be the crew chief for Connor Zilisch for Trackhouse Racing for 2026. Trackhouse announces that Randall Burnett will be the crew chief for Connor Zilisch next year. Big news. First off, for RCR and for Kyle Busch, I feel like this was a much-needed change. Kyle Busch in that 8 car haven't looked very good this year or even last year. And it feels more often than not, especially in 2025, that, the 3 team, Austin Dillon, has been outperforming Kyle Busch this year. So I feel like this could be, a good move for RCR and Kyle Busch, just letting Randall Burnett go, trying to get, a better crew chief down the line to try something different to potentially be better for 2026. But for Trackhouse Racing and Connor Zilisch, at first, I didn't really get it. I didn't really understand the move. Randall Burnett, he's been with RCR. RCR hasn't been really good the past couple of years. Randall Burnett hasn't made the playoffs this year and didn't make it last year. And I wasn't really sure about the reasoning. Like, what was the reasoning to try to get Randall Burnett to be the crew chief for Connor Zilisch? Personally, I think Trackhouse Racing should have grabbed Rodney Childers. Rodney Childers, in my opinion, is one of the best crew chiefs in the NASCAR garage. He's jobless right now this year, and I feel like he paired up with Connor Zilisch, who's the top NASCAR prospect this year. I feel like that would have been a match made in heaven. No disrespect to Randall Burnett, but he has not impressed me the past couple of years. But now, now that I kind of think about it, maybe Trackhouse Racing, grabbing Randall Burnett might have been a pretty good move. Randall Burnett worked with Tyler Reddick when Tyler Reddick first started with Richard Childress Racing. Won a good amount of races in 2022, and when Kyle Busch took over his ride in 2023, Randall Burnett won 3 races. So I feel like this move could be better than most fans realize. I still think that this team will struggle next year. I still think they will struggle, like all teams. They will have some weaknesses, but I do expect this duo to be very, very competitive on the road courses, especially. We'll have to see what happens. I feel like maybe, a couple years down the line, Connor Zilisch and Randall Burnett will be great, and then maybe 3 or 4 years after, that's when, they'll really, really start to struggle. But I don't know. Now that, Randall Burnett is the crew chief for Connor Zilisch next year for Trackhouse, I don't know what my expectations are for, this duo for next year. Is it to still make the playoffs? I don't know. It's confusing me a little bit because Connor Zilisch is such a high prospect right now. He's been doing so good in the Xfinity Series this year. Randall Burnett is he is at the bottom of the barrel for RCR. He has just struggled so much. RCR just hasn't looked the same, especially with Kyle Busch, joining the team and Randall Burnett being the crew chief. Like, when we think of RCR, we think of Kyle Busch and Randall Burnett because we expect, that pairing to make the playoffs, and this year and last year it just hasn't been the case. I don't know. I really don't know what's going to happen. I really don't know what my expectations are now that Randall Burnett is now going to be with Connor Zulich. And now, now that I think about it, who is RCR and Kyle Busch going to grab to replace Randall Burnett for next year? And that's my other question. Like, what happens then? I don't know. Will be very, very interesting to see what happens the next couple of weeks. Should be something interesting to keep our eyes on. And that should do it. It was a pretty good, productive episode today. 40th episode. Again, thank you to all of my supporters who have supported me up to this point, whether you've listened from my first episode ever, or, even if you're listening for the first time just right now. Thank you very, very much for listening. That should do it. We'll be back next week. We'll cover the Arca Menards Series, the Xfinity Series, and the Cup Series race at Kansas. Kansas is a really, really fun track. Should be a fun one to cover. Can't wait to see what happens there. I'll see you guys later. Have a great day, everybody. Take care, y'all.